Hello everyone, in this video we are going to talk about the term flower and their parts. Basically the flower is a specialized suit in which the leaves are modified. Leaves are modified into which part? The floral part, or we can say the floral meristem. Now the first part of the flower is called the pedicels, the stick-like structure or also called by the name stalk that gives support to the flower. Now in some cases the flower does not have the stalk. That types of flower are called the sessile flower, and the flowers which have the stalk, that is called the pedicellate flowers. Now the another part that is called the receptacles or the thalamus. These thalamus are basically a bag like structure or a cup shaped structure. The tips of the stalk, basically this tip of the stalk of a flower is enlarged to form a cup shaped that holds the complete flower, or we can say that holds all the parts of the flower on it. Now these thalamus are also responsible for the holding of all the four whorls of a flower, that is the calyx, corolla, androceium and gynoceium. Now the calyx is basically what the first whorl is basically consists of a green sepals, and the collection or we can say the groups of these sepals are called the calyx. Now the second whorl is basically the large brightly colored petals, that is for the flower's beauty. These petals are basically present in the second whorl, that collectively called the corolla. Now if you look at the diagram of the flower, this flower consists of a stalk. This stalk is basically the pedicel, and above this pedicel there is an enlarged bag like structure. This is called a thalamus, and inside this thalamus there is a pistil. This is basically a female part that consists of a stigma, style, ovule and ovary, and beside it there is some filaments. These are basically filaments that consist. On the top is the anther. This anther consists of a pollen grains that blows away from the one flower to another for the pollination. Now this is the petals, basically the colored part of the flower, and these are sepals, basically the green leafy parts of the flower. And these sepals are collectively called the calyx, and these petals are the corolla. Now we will talk about the third whorl, that are the male part. During the pollination, these both whorl are important. Now the third whorl, that is called the male part. These are basically consist of a thread like structure, long thread like structures called the filament, as I shown in the diagram, in this diagram, and projected outward. Outward from where? From these petals. There is, I have only drawn one petals to explain more about this diagram. So these filaments are projecting outside from this flower, and a bilobed lip tip of the filaments is called the anther on every filament. These anthers mainly composed, or we can say attached with the pollen grains. These are mainly pollen grains that helps in the process of pollination. Now we will talk about the fourth whole, or we can say the last part of the flower, that is called by the name female part. These female part consist of pistils, and pistils consist of stigma, style, ovule and ovary at the last. Now the single female unit of this fourth whorl is called by the name, or we can say this is formed with carpel. In this male part, this whole male part is composed of a stamen. Stamen, how? We have already seen that in the male part there are three parts, basically the pollen grains, anther and the filaments. These both are collectively called